Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. Another amazing Spiritual Rockstars show. Oh my God, I've got like the ideal guests, like all of them are, but this guest is going to be sharing with you about how spiritual ascension really is number one. And I'm sure she's going to have a lot more to add on to that. Like, okay, like, yeah, we can be prosperous. We can, enjoy whatever amount of impact and money and all that stuff in our businesses. We can have all that, but the foundations of awakening, spiritual ascension, all these things that I talk about here all the time, I'm just so excited because she actually, I'm not going to get into it yet, but like I just want to mention, like she's actually one of those examples of people that, had that learning experience of building a bigger business, the 7 figures and everything. And then, oh my God, what she can share with you about how heavy that was or whatever she's going to share. We'll find out. I'm excited to learn. And so keep on tuning in so you can understand how you could spiritually ascend and see, get all the trimmings at the same time, I'm sure. Okay, so we're going to get right into it in a moment. Want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate Make Money meditation today. Okay, Echo, I'm just super excited for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Me too. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, awesome. So Echo Summerhill is a multidimensional guide here on a mission to help raise the consciousness of this planet and usher in the new earth. Yes, one soul at a time. She is the creatrix of UpTM and the Soul Up movement, which is an intentional spiritual awakening and group coaching community where she guides women on their healing paths to true mind, soul, body, and business alignment. A divine feminine leader, Echo mentors high-achieving women in building their empires without the hustle and burnout. She focuses on helping her clients create a legacy they can be proud of from a soul-aligned place for massive expansion. Echo is a master at guiding women through unblocking limiting beliefs and helping them activate their superpowers and magic so they can elevate their lives and businesses to new heights of expansion. She is here as a guide, mentor, and alchemist for all those drawn to her bright and, of course, fierce light. So yeah, again, just grateful. Love that you put the fierce in there in the lead in. I always say, like, okay, I'm all love and light with a little bit of badass, right? So I gotta have a little bit of that.
They love light and no BS.
Yeah. There we go. Exactly, right? Because we can, like, isn't that true? That's a good starting place, actually. Like when I first got in this, I was coming from metaphysics. Like that was my background. And I thought metaphysics was everything when I first got started. Like my background's in psychology and all that stuff. And then I was like, but when I got into metaphysics, I'm like, this is the answer. Everybody needs to dial in. It was before The Secret. I'm like, everybody needs to dial this. It's my mission in life. We're going to dial this thing. We're going to create the reality we want. It's so easy. And then I started realizing that there's something deeper, going on, beyond like the idea of metaphysics and, just focusing the mind and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. Like I was already kind of aware of it, but like I still was so fixated on this, like we gotta create it the way we want, make it happen and all this stuff. But I when I first started off with the business online, helping healers and all this stuff with their purpose and ultimately their businesses and helping them use their gifts. I was reading your bio. I was like, well, there's some similarities, of course, between me and you, what we do. I was like, wow, I'm just so tired. Everybody's loving light. Let's look at the crystals, everything. Come on, let's get down to business. No BS. What's the real truth? You're deluding yourself sometimes to this stuff. And I think like we have to, I'm going to repel those people to some degree. Some of you are really into that because although I'm multidimensional and all that stuff like you are, and it's like I'm just not that person, I think it's all great. I think everybody is great. I think whatever they're doing is fine and great, but it's just it's not my vibe. I'm more bottom line, and that's what I'm hearing maybe from you. Like I'm a little bit more bottom line and then totally multidimensional at the same time. Is that true?
Yeah, totally. And I think I actually just had a conversation with a client about this, and we were talking about this before we, went live. It's like I'm in a community that's very like spiritual, as you know, here in Austin, Texas. And there's been so many like communities that I've kind of like looked at and stepped into, and again, zero judgment, but it's like they're so far out in the ethers and this airy like stuff that they're not actually having like the real true human experience. And I feel like we're souls incarnate here to experience this physical life, and sometimes that's not just love and light. It is like getting to the point. It's like removing all the fluff, and I think that's really important for a journey of spiritual ascension, is to like remove all the fluff. And sometimes we get lost in the language and all of that, and it's like, no, like what's your truth? What's the authentic version of you? Yeah.
Right. And I don't know your style, but like I know within my style of like communicating with the tribe and clients, like I think about it with my clients right now. It'll be like I'll be so centered in love and gentleness and nurturing, and then all of a sudden, like there'll be certain things I'll be like, that's BS. What you're doing right there, that's BS. Now you better cut it out, or I'm gonna kick your ass, kind of vibe. Like I may not say I'll kick your ass, but like that's kind of the energy I'm coming from. I'm like, cut it the hell out, would you? Like,
Yeah. Or I'm like, that's a cool story you're telling yourself, but that's not the
right, right, right. And I find like that kind of vibe can bring people on, awaken them in ways that all that sweetness, and we're going to go to higher dimensions. We're going to do another healing. We're going to clear out all the chakras again. And we're going to do all this stuff, and we're sometimes the medicine is needed. It's just like no BS. Let's go right now. This thing's over. You're stepping into this new energy, this new awakening awareness, and stepping into whatever you meant to create next. And there's nothing like it sometimes when you bring that medicine to the right people. Of course, they're willing to receive that. But
yeah, I call it truth love, because sometimes the truth is tough. So I call it truth love instead of tough love, because I'm like, come on.
Right. And I always say too, I say this to my clients because I think, again, I'm talking to myself always, right? And I'm like, trust me, don't worry about getting more badass. You got so much loving presence. People will be able to accept it. They know where you're coming from. It's okay. And I think if we can share that with all the listeners today, like, because most of them either want to be coaches and healers or are and do all this sort of stuff, like bring it on, like bring more of that, because most people hold back on it, is what I've found. What have you found, Echo?
Oh yeah. And I think people are afraid, and for me in general, my own journey was, I came from, this place of really hardcore, right? Like I was really hardcore. I was like practically all badass, right? And
Right.
5 years ago, when I went on this massive, enlightenment journey, this awakening, this ascension journey, whatever you want to call it, it's like I swung to the other side and almost got like really airy and all the things. And then now it's about like harmonizing those two energies so that, again, you have the love and light. You are a spiritual, like you are spiritual. You don't have to try to be spiritual, but then you get to bring that truth and that badass, that power to showcase that as well, knowing that like your truth is that love and light, but your truth is also that power. And you get to have both of those at the front at all times.
Yeah. I love that. And so many people I talk to have had that journey like you're talking about. Man, I used to be whatever it took, 80, 100 hours a week or whatever it was, but like just this really intensive, like I'll perform everybody if that's what it takes. I mean, my only journey with that, like at that massive intensity level, I mean, I did it to some level with building, business, but more so, I would say, after sloughing off in school earlier in my life, was like, once I got to grad school, like, that's it. No one outworks me. That's the rule. And I'd be falling asleep on my books and stuff like every night. I'd be like, no, I'm still going. Like, and then guess what? Then I was on medications for anxiety because I couldn't sleep at night. Like I would get jacked up my system so intensely with all that I was like completely getting fried, And so I learned like maybe there's a reason why I've been chilling all these years. It's like my enlightened way of being in a way, right? Maybe there's always more embodiment, more whatever, of all of it. But like I started realizing, okay, maybe there's a reason, I haven't been this way all this time. But it took a while to really understand that, because I think people like yourself, because a lot of people listening in may have come from where you're talking about, whether they created a 7-figure business like you did, or something else. But like, okay, I know how to create success. You just put your head down, like all the motivational people, all the gurus, like some of these gurus anyway out there. The only way is hard work. You can't do it any other way. You got it. That's the only way to be a top performer. And I'm like, you ever heard of a guy named Eckhart Tolle? I mean, like, okay, this guy is self-admittedly, I always talk about Mark Allen, the publisher, like with Over a New World. Like, I know him, I've been in his classes and I know him and everything. And he's told us, he's like, when I'm very lazy, he tells us his day, he works like 20 hours a week. Like, he says, Eckhart tells me he's even lazier than I am. I mean, and they're both millionaires. I mean, so it's like, give me a break. Like, this isn't necessarily for everybody, right? If you're on a path of awakening, then it's definitely not for you. And then all that, old energy of go get it just becomes so toxic. So I love to stop talking so much myself, because I'm just going out of control here, but having a good time. But I'd love to hear your a little bit more about that story, because you had this big awakening not that long ago. You had this. I'd love to hear what you were doing at the time, what kind of business it was even, and like what led you to that awakening, coming from like, man, I gotta make it happen. And you're so on it, and then you have this big awakening. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel that the hustle mentality started at a very young age for me. Growing up the way that I grew up, I experienced a lot of trauma growing up, and I raised myself and had to become super independent. So I was always in like this survival mode from like the age of 4 on. And that obviously trailed into, teenage, and then, 20s and adult years. And so I was always a really hard worker, because that's what I was taught, and that's what I was programmed to do for survival, right? Like raising myself, had a full-time job since I was 14, graduated when I was 16, moved out when I was 17, like just go, go, go. And I gained, like, I was always like the most successful in my age group. If like I was always the one that was like working the hardest and doing, all the things and all of that. And so, that strokes the ego, makes you feel good, whatever. And when I was right before my 30th birthday, I had my son, and which was beautiful. And I had put down I had created a social media agency. I had a social media agency back in the day. And I had stopped taking clients because I wanted to be fully present with my son and try to be, a stay-at-home mom in that aspect. And about 6 months postpartum, my husband, who was a career firefighter, he's since retired, he broke both of his legs in the fire service. And that sent us into this whirlwind of not only physical, financial, emotional turmoil, right? And we were struggling to survive. And in the aspect of getting foreclosure notices in the mail, all this stuff, 6 months postpartum, having massive anxiety, depression, all associated with that. So we were just in like this really tough spot. And then, so what led me, the business that led me to my first 7 figures was network marketing. And I was introduced to this product, and the product first, which I'm grateful for. I fell in love with the product. It really served me. It helped me. I loved it. I loved the heart of the company. So, and I was against network marketing. I was like, nope, like that is some schemy stuff. Just give me the products. That's fine. But I realized I could do it my way, right? And not do all the pushy, salesy stuff. But in the interim, so I dove headfirst into that company, started building a team, and all from hustle, like none of the salesy, pushy network marketing stuff, but just go, like 16, 18-hour days nonstop, connecting with my team, teaching, doing this, doing that, all while having this little baby. And in 3 years, we hit the top rank in the company. And I was 33 when we hit the top rank. And in that same month, I looked down, and it was when we made our first million. And I was like, okay, cool. Top rank in the company, made first million, cool. And I'm the unhealthiest. I was diagnosed with neurological Lyme disease. And I realized that I had a drinking problem, like mommy wine culture, just like trying to drink the stress away, now 5 years sober. But at that time, I was like, this is not what success is supposed to feel or look like, right? Like this can't be normal. Like nobody tells you this is what success is. Like you said, they tell you work hard and you get all the money, work really hard for 3 to 5 years, and then you can just relax. No, that's not how it works. Because then you hit the point, you're like, okay, what's next? Like I want more. I want more, when you're trapped in that ego construct. And so that was when I was just, you know, how it is, it's always divine. I was just connected, you know, I had an awakening, and I was like, this can't be it. And then I started getting messages from what now I know as my higher self and source and, you know, my angelic team. But it was just this beautiful connection to mentors and healers, and just this path that I decided to take. To, at first it started like, well, I need to heal my body, like neurological Lyme disease, supposedly incurable. I don't have it anymore. And so I was like, I quit drinking. I like went down this whole natural path of like healing all these things. And that was, and at the same time diving into my spiritual journey. And so that's really 3 years into that business. When all of that happened, I stepped back from really leading that business and really focused on my spiritual journey. And then through that, let me backtrack just 1 second. Because 12 years ago, I became a life coach and, you know, transformational coach, and started to do all that work. I've always been a natural leader, a natural helper. I was the friend that everybody came to. So I had this like coaching background that then I put into the network marketing. And then I got a lot of leadership skills through that. And then on the other side of that, I decided that I was going to really teach this, because it all happened so fast for me, really teach the spiritual path, like this spiritual ascension journey, and through my own processes, right? So like learning things and then sharing what I'm learning. And I'm all about sovereignty and personal power, like never saying this is the way, right? Like just share my way. And what I realized is there was just so much reprogramming to be done around that hustle. And it's just so interesting how difficult it can be, and how ego can just be so wrapped up. Well, you should be doing more. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And so it was a process. It's still a process over the last 5 years of really reprogramming that mindset. And so as I started to come back into my mentorship and coaching space, and really utilizing this spiritual ascension work in the mentorship space versus in network marketing, which is now just like in the background, you know, I don't work that business anymore. I've been able to create beautiful, you know, prosperity and abundance from an aligned place, from a place that I'm like working 3 or 4 hours a day, or not even that sometimes, like I got you know, it's like really just like allowing myself to create through the divine. And that's scary. It's scary for a lot of people that come from the grind, because, you know, and again, this truth that we were talking about earlier, it's like, you know, some people will say, well, yeah, you can shift from the hustle to, you know, slowing down and doing all this, and you'll be fine. I'm like, no, there is sometimes that dip, which is scary, the income dip, right? Like you have to, because when you build a business that's built on hustle and all of those frequencies of lack and scarcity and need and all of that, then when you shift out of that, then any of that money that's attached to those frequencies is not going to go with you. And so there is a dip, and that can be scary for the ego, but it's possible to continue to grow and prosper even more than you did before from this place of pure alignment, right? And it to me, that's true success, when you can be proud of how you got there, and happy and healthy. Everybody wants to be wealthy, but if you're not happy and healthy with that, like what is the freaking point? Like if your relationship are crumbling down, if you're, you know, unhealthy, if you have a lot of disease in your body, like whatever it is, it's the money doesn't matter. And I experienced that firsthand. Like I didn't care how much money I had in the bank account when my whole being was just crumbling down around me, you know? So it's really important to know that it is possible. And it's important to also know that it does take commitment and consistency, and it does take work, a dedication to the spiritual path and the ascension path. Or if it's not even like a spiritual ascension path, say that not everybody wants to start a spiritual business, quote unquote, but if it's like the alignment to whatever it is you truly desire to do versus the hustle and the grind.
Right. I mean, I think that's great for someone like yourself that, again, had that level of financial, you know, success, so to speak, or money coming in, you know, that you can be an example of someone to say, hey, the money, I didn't even, it didn't matter anymore. I mean, I had all these problems, health problems, stress to the max. And it's like, so it must have been, it's like when you were in that place, you must have thought something along these lines, I would think. You tell me what you were thinking, but it must have been like, I thought you're supposed to get happy once you get all this success, right? Is that kind of what you ran into, or?
Yeah, and what I've learned over the years, which I think a lot of us have learned, is that money amplifies what and who you already are.
Right.
I was living a very unhealthy lifestyle. I was not taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So all that money, it almost, because of how I got it, like it amplified all of that, which I truly believe was like the universe being like, wake up, like look at you, like you're a shell of who you truly are, you know? And so it was like, now I know, like, again, recreating these 7 figures over and over again from an aligned place, it's like, it amplifies, like it doesn't make me happier, it just is a bonus, right?
Right.
And it allows me to do things that make me really happy, to give more, to be of more service, to do all these things, to have that sense of freedom. But that's not where my true freedom comes from. My true freedom is from my sovereignty, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We've not been taught that you can actually truly be who you really authentically, truly at a deeper level really are, and they can work. We haven't been ever taught that. That's one of the things I do talk about, like in terms of different systems out there and whatnot, but like, human design, all these things, they're helpful at least. I mean, like, I'm not going to say like, you follow exactly what that booklet says about human design, you're going to have everything you want. Like, I'm sorry, I even have experts come on in human design. I've worked with people in that area. I cannot say that that's true, but I can say it's really pointing into some deep truths, things like that. They're really showing you like, all this stuff. Like for me, I said to my coach who was with the human design, I said, yeah, like I could get, when I get clear on something, man, look out, I won't stop no matter what, and all this stuff, and motivation, I can overcome. And all she had to say is, yeah, that's all conditioning. Like, that's not even who you are at all. Like, that's not, like based on her read anyway of my design. And so it's like, yeah, wow, this is just the conditioned self, run awry. And there's so many people in that place. And I know, like, sometimes when I get more intense or I get working more, even if it's mostly things I'm liking, if I'm not getting enough space for myself, I'm like, yeah, I start thinking like anybody else. Hey, I might want a cookie tonight. I might want some ice cream. I might, yeah, it could be wine, I guess, but I'm not a big wine drinker. But like, yeah, or whatever. I just want to get a little reckless, do something crazy now because I need this release, right? Like this release of the tension and the stress, and and then you get short with people, right? I'm sure you experience that as well. You're like, yeah, right now I just can't handle it. I'm making all this money. Like, shut up, leave me alone. It gets wild, right? So we when we're saying in this space, especially, like we're saying we're love and light, and then that's why we have got to trust that when you come from the deeper space, things do unfold. I've experienced it too, a multi 6-figure business. Then also I've guided in another direction. I wasn't in the push model, but there was things that needed to shift inside me from awakening. And then like things dropped. They did because the money was connected to how I created it there. My energy changed. Now that's not there anymore. So because we're similar, my clientele are people that go through that transition often, like this transition that you're talking about. And it's like, listen, you're going to have to be willing to let all that money go. If every single penny, everything, you're going to have to be willing to at least let that be a possibility. Otherwise, you'll never be able to allow this deeper awakening to happen and all the manifestation you're looking for from that place. And it can happen, but it takes whatever time it takes. So, right. And then I'm just curious. And then I always add in too many questions, but like, then I'd be so curious, like what your path with that has been. Like, how does it work? I mean, because the mind goes nuts, right? Listeners are thinking, well, how does that work, right? So I'm wondering, yeah, whatever you could share about it.
Yeah, and you're totally right. Because, here's the deal with hustle. And I'm actually writing a book called Heal the Hustle. So
Oh, cool.
the thing with hustle is that it works. Right. So, and that programming you just talked about, it's like the collective programming, work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard. Like you'll sleep when you're dead, all these things.
Right. I used to say that, plenty of rest when I'm dead.
Yeah. The hustle works. So that's where it's very hard to detach, because it's like, okay, well, this works. I don't know if this unknown works of me actually taking care of myself and all of that. And when I moved into really this place of alignment and this awakening path and really healing this hustle, I had to truly, and you nailed it when you said, like, you've got to be willing to just let go of everything, because I'm the same way. A lot of my clients are going through this transition. You have to really get clear on who you are and what you desire and what your values really are. Because to me, and this is a question I ask my clients all the time, it's like, what are you going to truly care about on your deathbed? Are you going to go, man, I wish I would have worked 8 more hours that week, or I would have, hustled a little bit more. I would have made, gosh, I wish I would have made $100,000 more that year. No, you're gonna think, I wish I would have taken better care of myself. I wish that I would have had more happy experiences. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids and my spouse and my friends. Like, I wish I would have loved life more. I wish I would have spoken more of my truth, even if it seemed a little bit too badass or powerful, like we talked about, right? It's like, I wish that I would have been a bit more bold. Like, these are the things that we value, but yet we're not prioritizing. We're prioritizing this money as like our idol, or this abundance, or this impact, or what it's usually attached to a lot of, which I know is the validation, the pat on the back, right? Everybody thinking you're awesome. Oh, she makes a lot of money. He makes a lot of money. Oh, they're awesome. Oh, they have a podcast. They're awesome. Like it's seeking all this external validation, when what we have to focus on is our true values. And that's how I always associate them. Like, what am I going to care about on my deathbed? It sounds morbid, but it's like, that's the truth, right? We're all going to die one day. What are we going to actually look back and care about? It's not going to be the money in your bank account. I promise you. It might be the legacy attached to that for your children, your grandchildren, whatever, the empire you create, but it's like the impact, the love, the happiness, and the health. And so it's the deconstructing that ego piece that is telling you the money leads the show, and really getting brutally honest with yourself. I had to get brutally honest with myself. Like, am I going to be okay if I'm poor? Again, like, I grew up poor, like struggled, all the things. It's like, am I going to be okay? Yes. Like, because we get the difference between like safety and comfort confused. A lot of times when we have an income dip, a lot of times when we, are struggling with money or whatever, our central nervous system tries to trick us and tell us that we're not safe. But in reality, we're just not comfortable, because safety is totally different. We're all safe. Everybody listening to this show, I can almost guarantee, is safe right now, right? Like, they're not running for their lives. They're not, doing all these things. It's like, we're safe. And so another piece of that is that need versus desire. We don't need a lot as humans. We need food, water, shelter, human connection, right? Like, we're safe, or we're good, like, we're okay. That's what we need to survive. Everything else is a desire. Nobody needs to make $10,000 a month. Nobody needs to make $5,000 a month. Do we set ourselves up in our lives where we have to fill the need because we have to pay a certain bill or mortgage that has to meet that level? Yes. But nobody needs that. And when we can reframe that pathway of like, need versus desire, safety versus comfort, then we can really come back to that sovereignty and prioritize those values, and then lead and really discover who we are and how we want to lead our lives and our businesses, and how we can fulfill that in an aligned way. That's the power of the coming back to your sovereignty, not needing the external world to tell you who you are, how to work, what to do. And I'm sure you agree with this, but like, again, the hustle works. But I truly believe, especially at this time on our planet right now, that the people that are leading their businesses, whether they're in the spiritual business or not, if they are leading from that soul aligned place, that source energy, God-given place of their sovereignty, those are the people that are going to thrive more than ever in the coming years. They're going to be the ones that are at peace in the chaos, right? The calm in the chaos. When things are going crazy in the world, they're just going to be centered and happy and healthy because they are prioritizing their spiritual path, their soul guided journey above the dollar amount in their bank account. I truly believe the spiritual leaders are going to be the next, like the big wave of the millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, the people that are really connected.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a mix still, but yeah, I agree. I
Right.
agree. The segment of people that rise the fastest and easiest or whatever, you know, on average, would definitely be the people on the spiritual side of it for sure. You know,
Even, you know, because I feel like for so long in the spiritual world too, like people think, oh, you're a spiritual person, you're running a spiritual business, you're a healer, you're this, you're that, then you're not meant to make a lot of money, right? It's like this,
right.
like you shouldn't want a lot of money, you shouldn't do this and do that. And it's like, I think that's all going to shift.
Right, totally. Yeah, there's a lot of, there's just, yeah, that's one of the common things that I hear from everybody. Even if I were to ask you, right, directly, like, do you still experience conflicts between spirituality and money? You're going to raise your hand. You're going to say, yeah, a little bit still, right?
Yeah.
Like, I find like everybody in the space experiences that virtually. If they're honest, they're like, yeah, there's a little bit in there. Yeah. Oh, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, but so you, wow. So yeah, that there's so much in there that you shared. That's so cool. I think yeah, this whole idea of survival. I've had to face that. Like people who really want to rock, you know, spiritual rock stars that really want to rock. They want to do their big purpose, their big mission. They want to, of course, have all the money that flows ultimately through that. And then that's yeah, the cherry on top or whatever. But it does help you. It's significant, but then it's not what it's made out to be at the same time. So my point is like, yeah, this idea of like, well, if I go to zero or bankrupt or I owe tons of money or this or that, you know, everybody has their own opinion, especially these days about, you know, taking out credit card debts, loans, everything. And I'm still, for me personally, I'm still in the same place. If it's available to me, and if I feel like it's the direction to go for me, and it just feels like the right direction, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it. I don't have a dogma. Guy, you should have any credit cards. You should have them. You shouldn't. I don't care. Like whatever feels true for me on my path right now, right? So it's like, but like ultimately, this whole idea, like we were talking about with going to nothing, because I've thought about that. I'm like, and I've been to these places already before, but the mind's still crazy. Oh my God, but what if that? I'm like, well, even if everything crumbled, like in terms of like me being able to generate any money, if somehow that happened, like you know, I still have family. I still have people that will help take care of me and my family. They're not going to say, well, you don't have any money, get the hell out of here. You know, like they're going to be like, whatever we can do, you know, come live with us. Well, you know, they'll feed you. You know, there's free food all over the place in this country, in the U.S. anyway. I mean, there's so much abundance. There's so much abundance. You would have a place to live, most of us easily. You would have, you know, food. You would have shelter. You would have a bathroom. You would have water. You would have everything. If you lost absolutely everything you own now, every dollar, you would still have it for most people. Maybe there's some people that for some reason wouldn't be true. It could be, it wouldn't, even then, like it's just, you're not seeing the resources, but it's there for all of us. You're going to be taken care of in this day and age. And here in the United States and probably a lot of other places too, I suppose, that are listening in. But I'm just saying you would be taken care of it. So when you can really awaken to that, really realize that that's true, then you could be like, okay, maybe there'll be some shame, embarrassment, guilt. Maybe I'd face that, but why don't I just face that now? Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, I'm at peace. Okay, I was just busy trying to do my thing in the world, and this is where I happen to be in that moment. And then you can come to peace with it. And what I find, the more people can make peace with it up front, then you won't feel like you won't be in fear all the time, and you also won't need to create it. Like as I think sometimes people fear something so much, they start creating levels of it, maybe even the whole thing in some cases, but at least levels of it. Oh my God, it's just getting worse. And because you're in a pattern, and it's just like, no, it's not like that. And so, but it's a big shift. It's a big shift. And once our belief system gets on board enough to realize like you can operate from this deeper presence and let all the good stuff happen on the physical level, so to speak, as well, then we're free, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's really, it is an awakening journey, and healing the hustle, whatever, part
yeah,
of it people are in. It takes a deep layer of trust, and like trusting yourself, and like you said, trusting the resources around you. And a lot of times it doesn't get there. It doesn't get, a lot of times it won't get to that rock bottom place
right,
unless, like you said, that's all you're focusing on. Then of
right,
course you put yourself there.
right.
It's like really trusting in the divine, trusting that God is guiding you, your team's guiding you, and that your soul is guiding you to this place of alignment. And we are all meant, I truly believe, and maybe not in this lifetime for a lot of people because they don't believe it, but I truly believe that there is abundance accessible to all of us in some way, in some level. And we are here to create like these magnificent lives. And it's just a matter of if you actually wake up to your true soul's purpose, and you get into that alignment, and you actually enjoy the purpose, you enjoy the process. I mean, it's like, again, the hustle works. You can make a lot of money and create this big, beautiful life and then not be enjoying it, and it's like, people will say, and this is kind of dark, but people are like, well, it's easy for you to say because you've got money, like da da da. And I was like, more, just, people are out there with billions of dollars, millions of dollars, still killing themselves because
Yeah.
they're unhappy.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's not like, and it's so hard for our ego and our minds to wrap around, especially the world we live in, that money truly does not fuel that freedom and that happiness. It's got to come from inside. And it sounds so campy and fluffy, but it's so true, and it's not easy to do.
you're creating it from ego. I guarantee you what Echo's telling you is true. Like I've worked with these clients before.
Mhm.
It's only going to make your sense of scarcity worse, believe it or not. The more
Yes.
millions you have, the more scarcity you're going to have in your consciousness. The most scarce people I've ever met are some of the people that have the most money who created it from ego, right? I mean, that's what I've seen.
You're right on point. I talk about this in my community and with my clients all the time, and that's why we do this work, is because I want my clients to heal this energy, this lack, this need energy, and this scarcity and this hustle before they reach the $1 million status, because I reached the $1 million status and I hadn't healed that, and I was still in survival scarcity mindset. Like I would wake up and just be like, when's the other shoe going to drop? It's all going to go away. Like I was always in fear, and I had, quote unquote, all the money, and it didn't matter because I still had that energy within me, those limiting beliefs that it wasn't, I didn't feel worthy, or it wasn't, it was that scarcity need. So you're right. Like that's why we want to heal it before you actually gain massive success and prosperity, because it will just continue. And hustle 100% of the time. Like if it's true hustle, not like I'm going to work really hard this week on this project hustle, but like embodied hustle always leads to burnout and exhaustion and fatigue, and a lot of times disease in the body and all these things. It just always does. So it's like, you got to ask yourself if it's worth it.
I always say there might be a rare individual that can almost pull it off, but even in their case, like there's blowups in their life. Like there's something happening in their life that's not going well because they're so focused on whatever they're trying to create in the world and nonstop that they're not, they're not giving attention to other areas, and those areas are suffering, in relationships or whatever it may be. So because people might find examples, the mind's really clever, like, yeah, but what about this person? What about that person? Well, first of all, 99% of the people lie, in public, like they're not usually
Right.
telling you the truth, right? I mean,
Well, and you look at like, I'm just throwing names out there, just thinking, but like Elon Musk, like he's talked about his emotional, mental, issues. Oprah, she's talked about her emotional, like relationship. Everybody, it's like there's sacrifices that are made, and it's truly, and I'm all for. I'm always about leading people back to their journey, their power zone, to what they want, like you said. And some people are okay with choosing that path where relationships suffer, and that's their path, but for me, I want to at least be happy and healthy and fulfilled, with myself and in my relationships, to even acknowledge like the money being there, like I would take that over $1 million any day.
right. Yeah, because it's like, we're going to get into the solution here in a moment, but like more of the solution aspect, but it's like, you know, the what was I going to say? It's this, it's almost, it's like it really is the same as drugs. It really is. This, when you chase money with ego, it's just exactly, it's almost exactly the same as like being a drug addict. It's like, okay, we got the big hit, but that's not going to satisfy anymore. We're going to need double the hit next time. And anyway, it's like you just keep going. Give me another hit. I need more. I need more until you're in, you know, until you're totally broken down and in rehab, you know, and you're, however that looks like, in a hospital bed or whatever. And I see it, you know, people do end up heart attacks, strokes, cancers, and people wouldn't listen. They just kept going and going. And you know, people like me and Echo try to warn them, and sometimes people don't listen. And then we see it. We're like, oh my God, they didn't listen. Look at where they're at now. But I guess it's part of their path. It's, you know, maybe they're listening a little bit more at least now. Like, so I've heard people crash. They're like, doesn't matter. I'm going to come right back. I'm the same as ever. And, you know, yeah. And then they have another incident and another incident. Yeah. Like, yeah, well, okay. Yeah. You're learning slow, but that's okay.
We're always being gifted like opportunities to shift into like a higher, you know, timeline, if you will, or whatever. It's like, we're always being shown, whether it's like discomfort and disease in our body, like these are signals, right? Like this is the unhappiness, the anxiety, the depression. It's like these are signals that we are not in alignment with like our higher self, like with our true path. It's our signals showing us that. But so often we just ignore because of the collective programming that we've been, you know, encoded with, that we just ignore, work harder until, for most of us, you know, or a lot of us, maybe not most, but a lot of us, we have to like get knocked upside the head, right. You know, right. It's like we have to be like, something big has to happen for us to like be shaken away, you know?
Right. So you talk a lot about, it seems, about spiritual ascension and everything. And, you know, that's a tricky word even for me. Like, I was like, I could say what ascension is and my own definition, but it's like, what, sometimes I'm like, what the hell is ascension anyway? Like, you know, like, I mean, you know, a high vibe, or we're going to, you know, eventually we're going to get to where and there's documented stories, right? But like you go out such an embodied state of presence and love and everything, and doing your purpose, you know, you literally take your body with you, you ascend fully and all this stuff. And perhaps there's a real truth to that. There are documented cases, etc. So, but still, I always kind of wonder, like, how much there's so much talk of ascension, like and there's so many fairy tales around ascension. So how do you help people with what you're calling spiritual ascension? How do you define it and how you help people with it?
Yeah. So spiritual ascension to me is us being in this physical form, right? Not leaving our body, but continuing on this path, this ascension path, as we connect and resonate more deeply and in higher frequencies, higher consciousness with our higher self and with God. So we're on this ascension path to just continue on like this ladder of becoming more of who we truly are, like on a soul level, right? Our true soul's purpose, our true soul's agreement for this lifetime, whatever it is. But we're just continually moving up the ladder of ascension to just become more fully of who we are, to tap more into that pure power and sovereignty of why we're here. And for me, it is a lot of just this work, right? Like it is the unpacking and, you know, recoding and decoding of like all of these programs that we've been infiltrated with, from our parents to television to social media to the world, all this external influence, to really come back home to ourselves and learn who we truly are. Because we are all going to, all life, we're going to be running on a program. And it's either we choose to continue running on the program that we have been taught and given from birth and throughout our life, or the program that then we choose to create with our higher self and with God, right? This program that's more of our, you know, our soul's path, our soul's purpose. And so it's a deep getting to know who you truly are without all the filters, without all the conditioning and programs, and coming back home. That is what the ascension path means to me, is more of that coming home to your true self.
How do you help people at that?
again, just we dive deep. I'm teaching, I'm mentoring, everybody's journey so personalized. If it's in a group, we start to unpack limiting beliefs around, again, what we've been taught, what we've been programmed, what we should do. I work with mainly women, and so it's like the woman and who a woman should be, how she should present herself, reconnecting with the divine feminine. A lot of the women I work with don't have a sense of who and what their divine feminine essence even is, right? Because we're so in that wounded masculine of the hustle, of the programming, whatever, trying to be all the things. Social media tells us we should look like this or do this to be a woman, whatever it is. It's truly about us unpacking all of that collective programming and asking, the questions about who you are. What do you truly desire? If you could set up your ideal day, if you could set up your ideal spiritual practice, your ideal relationships, how would you start to move those pieces one piece at a time to get to that desired outcome, And so we just want to unpack all, and it's like auditing yourself, like auditing your life, auditing what you do, auditing how you act, auditing how you respond, all of these things to really look at what needs to stay and what is true to you, and a lot of what needs to go and what needs to be like adjusted and shifted into this new version of yourself that's really just a remembrance.
It sounds like you're looking at like, okay, what are your desires and your dreams, and what is it that you're saying you want, by, and then really testing too to see if that's their truth, so of course, and then you're like, okay, that's your orientation towards your ascension. That's what I'm hearing you say, basically, right?
Yeah, and of course there's so many pieces, right? It's like how are you living in your relationships? How are you running your business? How are you being a mother? How are you being a sister? How are you carrying yourself in the grocery store, whatever it is? There's so many moving parts to all of our lives and our things. So we look at each little piece and then we can adjust. It's so funny you just said that. I have this, the one of the things that I always say is like, I always, I'm a Texas girl, and my Nana had a garden growing up, and I was like, I always want my own garden one day. Like, I want my own garden. I got a garden, and I do not want my own garden. I personally, but the programming was like, oh, I'm gonna have a garden. This makes me female. This makes me woman.
Right.
Like I've got my own garden. I can make my own fruit and vegetables. And when I got it, I was like, wait, I really don't like this. Like, I was like, I don't really like this. Like, I love fresh fruit and fresh vegetables, but somebody else can garden. It's like, but it was the programming in me that was like, oh, this makes me a good woman. This makes me a good wife and a good mom to like do this garden or whatever. And then I was like, wait, I really don't like that. And it's okay,
Yeah, or even, for men too, like, this makes me a good spiritual steward of the planet and everything. And of course, that's what we need to do. And everybody should have a farm, and everybody should. I just did a whole fun series on, are you spiritual? I did like these 5 videos and talking about all this stuff. Like, oh, wait a minute, are you vegan enough? Are you this enough? Do you, wait a minute, how about meditation? And what about your breath work? And what about, like, we got like all the, and then this idea of like spirituality to me turns into a big ego game again. Okay, where you, I meditate 10 hours a day. What about you, Echo?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And my husband, his brand is the Aligned Alpha, and it's about creating that, discovering that alpha divine masculine. He works with men, that piece, but also bringing in the emotional intelligence, the divine feminine in them, like, and having that alignment. Again, it's about alignment. It's not about like the ego wants us to, do that. It's kind of like here in where I live, it's like, there's all that, there's still in the spiritual community, there's still so much of that competition energy, like who's better, who has more social media followers, who meditates more, who does more plant medicine, whatever it is.
Right.
Like, that's not the point.
How many ayahuasca journeys? Come on, I got 10.
Yeah, I'm more enlightened than you. I've done more journeys, like whatever. Like,
right. Yeah, Echo, it's cute. You've been at this, what, 5 years or so, 12 at the most. Yeah, I've been at this like 30 years. Yeah. Like all those games people like to. It's so crazy. I mean, it does. It's just, like there's such there is a lot of ego in the spiritual world. There is, like, in the spiritual teachings and world, even like for the personalities and whatnot, because I know it, because I've experienced it myself, like it's been stripping and stripping and stripping, and then you think when you've stripped it all, there's more and there's more, right? It's like, okay, wow, that's ego too, and and 'cause yeah, you're right. Like I would part of you, yeah, oh, we're all the same, blah, blah. But then when you're a leader and everybody's like, oh, you're so amazing, Daniel, or Echo, or whatever, and oh, and it's like, yeah, it's for me anyway, and I have been so used to not receiving that sort of attention. It's like, as intoxicated, I just had to they receive some of it, like it'd be like, oh yeah, and then, oh, but wait a minute, but it's hard because it's intoxicating, and at first, and then you start seeing like, yeah, well, half of those people are going to think I'm a piece of crap later, because they're going to, whatever, I'm going to press their buttons, they're not going to be willing to go past where they are, and they're blaming on me that I failed them, and I become a big goof or whatever their ideas are of me. But like
Yeah,
the
no,
other
it's
half may continue to have a high opinion, but half the people think you're a loser later. So I'm always leery when people start praising me to death.
or the pedestal. It's like when we're putting somebody on a pedestal, like there's this image of like, oh my God, this person's so perfect, so awesome. And when we do that, it's like the second that somebody shows like they're human, right?
Right.
Or this like the more authenticity that comes out or whatever, it's like you fall from their pedestal. And it's like, but can you just love that? Like, yes, you love what this person does. You love their mission, you love their work. And maybe you love aspects of their human too, but like, maybe you don't like something that they do or whatever. Can you still like hold that space without having them on that pedestal? Because especially on social media, like we're getting snapshots of people, like, but at the end of the day, we're all human, and we all have human experience. We all experience pain. We all always, we all experience it
All
all.
that stuff they say, we all take a crap or whatever.
Yeah, we all poop and we all experience pain.
Almost everybody anyway. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's always people always find the exception. But wait a minute, I found an exception, right? So, but yeah, basically, yeah, we're all the same in that way, all these different ways. So, yeah, that's the thing. The portal of humanity into our divinity, I think, is where people are missing it. Like, because we're like, well, if I'm supposed to ascend and become the full light that I am, it means I won't be in a body anymore, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Because this whole humanity thing is no good. It's you're flawed. You're a sinner. You're no good. And if you enjoy being human and you enjoy your like I say, like I like. If I play a video game, like people are going to tell me I'm not enlightened. Okay, I like to play a video game. Okay, like but my own mind might judge it. Be like, well, wait a minute, you're not high vibe. You're playing a video game right now. It's like that ego gets right back in there. So how do you help people with that? Because I'm sure you run into this. Like people are like, how am I ever going to ascend when I'm so damn human?
Yeah. And I actually did a podcast episode about this too, called Honoring the Humanity. It's like we have to like it is so pivotal, especially as you like start a spiritual journey, because I know for me with an addictive personality, I dove headfirst and then became addicted to the spiritual path and was trying to be like perfect in the spiritual journey and almost like was hustling in the spiritual journey, like all the things, right? But what I realized over the last couple of years is like, we have to honor that humanity and like really give ourselves so much grace, and knowing that like, you're not messing this up. You may stumble, you may fall, for me, it's like my biggest teacher is my son, like if anybody can trigger me, like in half a second, it's him, right? And I have to honor that process of my own conscious parenting journey, and being aware that like these stumbles and falls are a part of this path, and ultimately knowing like we did sign up for this. I believe we signed up for this to experience the plethora of all the things. And it'd be easy on a spiritual journey, and I've talked about this, and I'm sure people have heard this before. It's like, it'd be easy. You think it's easy to go sit on the top of a mountain and just meditate for 50 years until you die and you're going to reach enlightenment, and cool.
Right.
But that's not how you actually like ascend. Like you have to step up the ladder. You have to overcome things. You have to experience things. You have to tap into what I call, you know, the initiation of power through pain. Like you have to experience these things to gain the knowledge and wisdom to keep going up in frequency and raising your consciousness. It's like, it's such a part of the human experience, and really honoring your human experience, just giving yourself grace. The more aware you become, the more you heal those patterns, and they don't happen as often. But when they do come up, if you judge yourself and beat yourself up, that just keeps you down in that low frequency, and it doesn't move you anyway. So like
Right.
lots of grace, lots of self-forgiveness, lots of self-love. Yeah, it's a
Don't
journey.
make judge myself for not being spiritual enough. That'll help me ascend. Right. It's also hilarious in that regard to me. But so yeah, great. Well, yeah, we're getting towards the end here. So, but yeah, people that want to keep connected with you and whatnot, and follow up with you, et cetera. It sounds like you work with people in a few different ways. How can they do that?
Yeah, everything anybody needs to know is just on my Instagram at Echo Summerhill. Like I do all my business there, post everything, anything I'm up to it's on there, linked in my bio. I just kind of flow on there. That's my happy place over there on Instagram.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, I can get me in these 10 different places and on my website. And I got 30 programs, and like you keep
Good
it simple. I
Instagram.
like that. Yeah.
People are smart, right? They'll figure it out over on Instagram.
Right, right, exactly. Cool. So we'll put the that information below, but it's real simple. Just her name on Instagram. I love that part about it too, because sometimes we get links and stuff. We don't. Well, we'll check the show notes. We're not going to be able to.
Right.
71345. Yeah, that's like a big code. But I've been, like so. Anyhow, okay, we got to the time of the show too, where I'd love to go ahead and share with you some scanning or downloads or whatever comes through. You ready to go to receive a little bit?
To receive.
Okay, cool. Let's see what comes through. It's always good. All right. So were you so was your dad, like, was he an immigrant or no?
No, not an immigrant. He could have been. No, he's not, but he just wasn't around a lot. So growing up.
Okay. Yeah, that was the other thought I had too. I heard immigrant, and then okay, so all right. So yeah, that's um okay, so when you were young, I'm getting like you had maybe even earlier, but like 7 comes to mind. Like you had some heightened awarenesses spiritually. Like it almost brings me emotional tears. Like, because I'm thinking like how this connection was so high, and it's like, and it reminds me of myself in a way, although it's totally different for me. But it's like, but the same is like how that just gets all covered up and layered over, and how heavy and it gets. And so I'm just noticing that. And it's so, yeah, because I think like part of it is I think some of us are sort of enlightened when we're kids in certain ways, and then like it gets all covered up, and then we have to unwind it, so that I think so I'm just noticing that. And I guess the message in part from it is that there is a really high awareness and vibration you're able to connect with, and you probably are still continuing to rehone it in a way, like you're still releasing some of the encumbrances around it that have built up. So like that's what they're just pointing to for me, is just to go deepen, like the angelic energy comes in really strong, like into your body. And so just letting it all in more, because there's still a fear, which may relate to your dad, of like, that's probably where the idea of things going away comes from, right? Like in this lifetime anyway, like, oh, it might just leave, like just like that. I didn't expect that with him either, right? Or at some point, even if it happened really, really in the beginning, but like, okay, what do I not know? What's going to happen? Maybe I I've got to get everything right or whatever. And so that's continuing to be healed. Okay, so we're just going to do a couple other quick ones and then we'll pause to reflect. Yeah, okay, good. So just showing me your throat chakra. They're just saying like, okay, good. You're there's still tension there, but like man, the spiritual keeps coming through. It's like you can speak with the angels, you can share angelic messages, and even if you're doing it already, they're just like, okay, more, just more. They're just like getting like the more on that. Keep being more insistent sometimes too. You know, it's like sometimes when we let go of the hustle and badass, it's like we almost let go of too much of it. So like, so just to remember to keep that coming to the strength. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there is something from again, if I spend more time, maybe I could pinpoint it and maybe you'll know, but I see people out in the field working and it's like, I feel it is in your, somehow maybe in your ancestry, like all this, like you get to work, you know, a hard day's work for a good day's pay or something like that. And so they're showing me that. I guess what are they trying to say about that? Okay, hold on. It's like they're just showing me like you're like you got an apple in your hand, you just smile and hand it to someone. And the symbolism for me means like it's so easy. It's just a matter of getting the, you know, easily the right, it's like the right thing or the right thing that wants to happen the right time for with the right person's going to happen, and that it's just always somehow comes together. It's always there. It's not that you have to keep slaving away and keep working those fields and everything, but it's all like given easily. Like that's part of your message. I'm really getting a lot of energy around that too. So
all of that's very on point for especially like the conversations I've been having like the last week and things I've been looking into. So it's very, very beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, sure thing. Glad to share. And everybody, if you want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There's a meditate to make money meditation there. So you can open up your energy, your chakras, etc. Allow the frequencies to come in that, you know, I know for myself and to use it, it's like things you're like, oh my God, I can't think my way into the solution. But when the energy comes in, it turns out all of a sudden it's like things that seem impossible become like simple, easy happening. So check it out. It's helped a number of people. I always hear great things and people are making more money from it that are using it consistently, apparently, from the people I hear from. So check it out there at yoursacredpurpose.com. And check out the Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan too. If you're a light leader with a big mission, you're ready to rock it, you want to do it, yeah, the spiritual rock star way, then check that out as well. All right, Echo, so we're at the end of the show here. Any last words for everybody before we wrap up?
Oh, no, just keep following your soul's purpose and really dive into who you are and what you want in life. It's so important. And try to cut out the external noise, as difficult as it can be, and really tune into who you are. So, and I'm so grateful to be on this with you. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Echo. Thank you so much. It's been so amazing to have you on the show. And for everyone else listening in, like I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
Listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.